Well, first of all, your experience as a journalist, as an editor-in-chief who end up managing the Epoca and making it, like a profitable, successful award winner, political news magazine. So how did you end up there, and most importantly, how you were forced to release, to leave?
My experience is a little bit peculiar because when I got the invitation to take care of the magazine was not in a good shape. So, and I had not much time to rearrange things. I think I've done what was possible to be done when I was there, but covering this new political environment brought by Bolsonaro was a challenge. Nobody knew how to proceed, how to deal with outrageous reactions from a candidate and after a president. So even if we had all Trump experience in our heads, when we are dealing with our daily basis routine covering politics was very different. And I think it takes a long time for journalists, for the local media in general, understand and rearrange itself while covering these stories. So one thing that I've learned is we can't lose the control of the narrative, because these people, populists in general, they have a same playbook, which is they produce lots of noise, a lot of outrageous news to distract us, to overwhelm journalists and journalism, so we can't follow properly the stories because we are always, we have so many things on the table and in the air that we can't focus. So why covering everything that they say, or why covering every event they go? So getting back the control of the narrative, I think we decide it's important and relevant for the public, for our audience, and that's the thing we are going to cover, even because these people, they produce so much disinformation and lies and bullshit in general that I think we spend a lot of time with this,
And your experience, you were like a woman, editor-in-chief of Epoca. How did the gender play a role, in your position in the magazine?
I just told the audience about that. I reflect a lot on how my gender influenced the product I delivered to my audience, and I think my take it's not much, because I think my generation we were trained to don't think about gender, just only work, do the same thing. Even if you are earning less, doesn't matter. You have a job. So it's something. It's generational, I think. So in my mindset, I had a very, how can I say that, neutral way of publish stories, we can say. But on the other hand, examples of outrageous men's suits club decisions, they were not allowed to happen anymore. So I think when you have a position a higher position like editor-in-chief, you brought the whole experience of your life to this job, not only your gender or your race, but and your gender and your race and your background.
All that comes into play, right? You have been targeted with online harassment, online abuse, rape threats, sexual threats, and so on. This is something that also happens to men journalists, but the attacks against women journalists, the type of attacks, the level, the viciousness, it's nothing comparable to men. So how's your experience, and what was the peak of these attacks? So probably in connection to your story with Jair Bolsonaro, the story that you published about Jair Bolsonaro.
Yeah, it was directly linked to, the peak was directly linked to the story, but what I'm struck about is how female journalists are banalizing some threats. I have friends who are massive attacked by, Bolsonaro supporters, and they are saying, "Oh, but it was not that bad. He just, sent me a bad word, told me that I'm there or there," and I think we shouldn't banalize these things. Because when you start banalizing one thing, and then you permit another thing, and another thing, and another thing. So and in the end, the sky is the limit. So I'm worried about that, and I think it's urgent to have or organization or a joint venture, I don't know, between lawyers and journalists, and coming up with a solid structure to be by our side, because newsrooms are not prepared for that. Every time I got an attack, or a reporter got an attack, and I went to the legal department of the newsroom, they said, "Oh, but it's not a threat. He's calling you a bitch. It's how can I say? How can I do? There is not a legal, tool to impeach this kind of threat. Should be.
And just to end up, can you tell us a little bit the story about why you were forced, to leave the position as editor-in-chief of the Época magazine, and what that represented to you, to your life, and also you talked about. Yeah, let's just start with that, and then I'll finish up with another.
I published a story about Bolsonaro's daughter-in-law, and I enrolled a reporter into she's a life coach instructor, and I enrolled a reporter into one of these classes, and we published a story because I would like to show how she was getting financial advantages after using the surname Bolsonaro in her brand, and the company that I used to work for understood that I disrespect the editorial principles of the company, because the woman was not a public personality, and but they never asked me about this before, or we didn't have a conversation about that. So they simply informed me that I need to publish an apology note for Bolsonaro's family, saying that was a mistake. And I refused myself to write and sign the note, and I decided to quit the job, and with me the 9 editors and columnists decided to leave the magazine as well. And Eduardo Bolsonaro's son, the husband of this woman, he's suing me, and the reporter. And in the first page of the lawsuit is the note, because the group published the apology note when I left. So all my lawsuit is based on this apology note.
What did you learn from all this pressure and from being targeted with online abuse? How did you cope with this, and how could other women can actually learn from your experience? I know that everyone lives it and experiences it in a different way, but what did you learn?
I've learned that it's so easy to give up. It's really easy to give up because you feel you were alone, and it's not all media outlets that support their employees. So, and we start to think, oh my God, why am I going through this if in the end I will be alone trying to, dealing with a personal lawsuit against me? It's better not doing that. So self-censorship is the easiest and the most expected result of this, reaction, or this solitude, we can say that. But on the other hand, I learned that there are many institutions and organizations and NGOs, groups who are there to support journalists, to give them like structure and resources to keep doing what we know how to do, what to do. Yes.